Hey everyone, James from Merchant Spring here for another episode of Marketplace Masters, where we bring you insights from industry leaders around the world. So Josh, thank you so much for giving us the time to come on to the show. I just wanted to get straight into it and ask you, to introduce yourself and explain, a little bit about what you do in the e-commerce or Amazon space.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me. I'm happy to share where I come from, kind of my background and what we do now. My partner and I started selling on Amazon probably 5 or 6 years ago, back before it was cool to do so. We were launching, what do you call them? Like garden hoses. We were selling garden hoses and gardening supplies, and we built up this brand and we're like, oh, this is really cool. This is a lot of fun. And we eventually sold off that brand and pivoted into a consulting and managed services model because we're like, man, we have all these SOPs. We know Amazon really well. People are asking us for help. Do we want to keep building our own brands or help other people build their brands? So we opted for the latter, and I've really enjoyed it. We've been doing that for the past 3 years. And we basically operate as sort of a holistic Amazon agency. So our goal is to step in with any kind of brand and help them manage every aspect of their Amazon channel, from PPC to content to inventory to reimbursements. We basically want you to not have to think about it and hit your goals. So that's the idea. That's what the value that we're striving to bring to our clients. So that's basically how we got started and what we're doing now. And we're loving it and trying to grow. And I'm happy to be on here and, I don't know, hopefully give away some good secrets that people haven't heard before.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Josh. And just for clarity, so you work with any seller and any Amazon worldwide? Is that kind of the MO of your firm?
Yeah, I should clarify. So right now we're focused on US-based sellers, although some of our clients are selling on UK, Canada, and Mexico, obviously. And I would ideally love to work with, like Australian clients, et cetera. We're always happy to talk to people and see if there's a good fit there.
Yeah, cool. Awesome.
And we've helped everybody from, hey, I just want to launch. I've got this brand that has existing demand. We've just never been on Amazon, to, hey, we've been selling on Amazon, but we've just been performing terribly. Can you help us improve this? I think really before you launch on Amazon, you either need to really do your research into the type of product you want to launch because it's so competitive, or have an existing demand that you've already proven out elsewhere that you can utilize to sort of catapult yourself in that Amazon space. And so those are two kind of people or brands that we strive to work with really within that criteria.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And just on that, Josh, so it brings me to my second question, right? So this week's theme is all about kind of review management, or, anything related to, I guess, driving more reviews. What is your top tip for maximizing like the review activity, review solicitation, or the effectiveness of reviews in general?
Yeah, and I'm going to go with an Amazon out-of-the-box product to start. It's just the value that you get from Vine reviews is just incredible. So they've recently, they used to charge for vendors to utilize this. So it was like $2,000 or something. And then they made it free for Seller Central users. And I don't think people have always tapped into the value here, but you basically are giving away your product for a free, really, really top-notch review. These Vine reviewers are writing multiple paragraphs. They're taking videos, they're taking photos. Like, they do a kick-ass job, and they're generally pretty positive and forgiving. So I always tell people, look, start with Vine. It's just such a no-brainer. It's the basics, back blocking and tackling. You're consistently getting top-notch reviews. Amazon has something in their sort of seller education program where they talk about retail readiness a lot. And retail readiness by Amazon's definition is 15 plus reviews. And in their kind of argument, that's where you're retail ready. And we've definitely seen like clients with new product launches, once you sort of get over that hump, your advertising costs start coming down, your organic rank significantly starts improving. So there's definitely some sort of obviously reviews are baked into the algorithm. But I think that once you get past that honeymoon phase, you really need like 15 plus reviews to sort of maintain your organic ranking. So we like to start with Vine with everybody. Amazon just said they're going to start charging for it. We haven't seen them charge, at least in Seller Central. We haven't seen them charging for all of our clients yet, but just keep in mind that's coming down the road. Even if they charge for it, I'd still pay it in a heartbeat for new product launches. Secondarily, what we're seeing work really well is utilizing email campaigns with an existing email list. So for example, let's say you've got your brand, you launched on Kickstarter and you got funded and you had, I don't know, 200 people, in your email campaign, or, you build an audience of 200, 500, whatever it is. Going back out to that audience and tapping into people that have already purchased your product, love your product, are fans of your brand is amazing for reviews on Amazon. And you can do it without really, while staying within Amazon's terms of service. So you don't necessarily have to reach out to them and be like, hey, here's $50. Come give us come give us a review. What you want to do is you want to drive them into the website. What we do, and what I think this is kind of a gray area, so just take this with a grain of salt, is we'll incentivize up front. So we'll say, hey, here's $10 off or 10% off to buy our new product, our new product launch. Go over to Amazon to buy it. And, we give them a coupon code for $10 off. And then after they purchase it, then we hit them up with a review chain. We say, hey, love that you utilized our coupon. Thanks for buying our product. We're trying to launch this on Amazon, yada, yada, yada. Leave us a review. And we'll hit them a couple of times with that. And I mean, these people are leaving awesome reviews because, one, they're already proven fans of your brand. Two, you just gave them a coupon code, not for a review, just to go purchase it, no strings attached within TOS. And then you came back and said, hey, I'm giving you all this value. Just leave me a review. We get really good turnarounds on those. So that's usually our secondary strategy. And then our third, which I think most viewers would be familiar with, is the physical inserts. So all the Chinese brands do the physical insert, right? It's that big thing that says, leave us a review and we'll give you $100 back, right? And you see that with all these Chinese brands. And what's hilarious is you'll literally get these things. You'll go online to leave a review and the listing's suspended already. And you're just like, you know what I mean? Like, these guys, they managed to do it, but it's just constant turnover with their brands. Incentivizing reviews through inserts is not a long-term viable strategy for a US-based brand. Ignore what the Chinese are doing. And not picking on the Chinese, by the way. I mean, lots of people do it, but it's consistently from that area. But what we'll do is we'll do physical inserts with a QR code. QR codes are great. Everybody's used to using them, especially now after COVID. Anytime you go out to eat, right? You went out to a restaurant, you scan a menu with a QR code. So even my dad knows how to use QR codes now. So everybody knows how to use them. You slap a QR code on your product insert and say, hey, leave us a review. The QR code goes straight to the review, minimizing the friction for them to leave a review. We have seen a huge bump in reviews from doing those physical inserts. Our clients love that. We've got a couple more strategies that we utilize, but I mean, shoot, I don't want to blow up all your time. I think if you start with those three, you're in a good place and you're going to have, you're going to be churning out more reviews than just launching and being like, fingers crossed.
Yeah, Josh, look, that was, those are three really, really great tips, man. And I really, really appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah.
Next question though, what changes do you think we'll see to the Amazon review mechanism? Now, I think you just touched on it with the Vine thing, and they're going to charge for it, and maybe they have or haven't. But broadly speaking, what do you think we'll see in terms of the review process, and changes on Amazon?
Yeah, it's interesting because we saw Amazon move in two directions this year. One is that they got more strict with review compliance. They kicked off MPAL. This cheap headset I'm wearing is an MPAL headset. Those guys were doing like $50 million a year on Amazon. They kicked off Aki, a couple other major brands. A couple major Chinese brands. They kicked them off for review manipulation. I haven't seen them come back months later. That's a substantial crackdown for Amazon. And whoever's a vendor manager of that catalog or that category is just like, shit, there goes, big chunk of my revenue. He's pissed. But clearly the higher ups are saying, hey, we have to do something, whether it's just virtue signaling, for American enforcement, or if it's their actual policy. I don't know, but it seems like Amazon's moving in a stricter direction like that. So keep all your review generation within terms of service, just be creative. And then the other direction they went was adding star ratings, right? Where it's like, now you don't have to say anything about it, just slap a star on it. And so it's like they're trying to like juice reviews that way, but then they're also, killing all these, fraudulent or solicited or incentivized reviews. So it looks like they're trying to clean up sort of the reviews to be more honest. And what I've seen, this is kind of neat moving forward, I think they're going to continue that policy, right? I just think it's just what we're seeing now. It makes sense for them long-term. I think that most established brands already have a fat review base. So it's like, hey, you know what? We want to give opportunities for new sellers. So that's why we have the Vine. the Vine program. But one thing I do think is interesting is I've been getting pinged for reviews and ratings from my Alexa. So Alexa's like, hey, you just bought this Empower headset. How many stars would you give it? And I think it's just so funny. Like, I don't know if that drives a lot of reviews, but I mean, I was like, yeah, give it, 4 stars or whatever. I was like, it's cheap, but it works. So I don't know, like, this kind of whole, what would you call it? Interconnectivity between Amazon devices and stuff like that. Like, imagine like when you get, if you have a Fire TV, right? Like sometimes when you're going through the apps, you'll see ads and stuff like that. Like, could they also track your purchases and actually use there? I don't know, but there's just some creative ways that Amazon's, soliciting reviews that I think could be interesting in the future.
Yeah, interesting. Very, very interesting.
Yeah.
It's making me think twice about using my Fire TV when I get home.
Yeah. They know everything about you, man. It's crazy.
So yeah, last question, Josh. Yeah. What other changes more broadly are you predicting on Amazon next year? And I ask that because, all the interviewees we've done, and it's been a lot now, we've talked about everything from, availability of stock, logistics cost. We've talked about, I don't know, the Amazon pushing for global selling and multi-channel selling and all this kind of stuff. So just from any angle you can think of, what is the big change you're predicting for next year?
Man, I'm probably going to sound like a broken record because this is what everybody's talking about in the retail space or the e-com space is just the supply chain. It's like you can't get products here. They're delayed in LA. They're delayed on the East Coast. Shipping costs have gone up 10x. I mean, it's just incredible. Demand is just outstripping supply. So what I mean, and you look at Amazon, and I'm going to get a little granular, and let's look at one part of that, sort of the supply and distribution chain. You look at Amazon with the constant changes in the restock limits. I mean, they're just seesawing sellers back and forth. It's like one day you can send 1 million units, the next day you can send 10. And so obviously what Amazon does is Amazon throttles inbound inventory utilizing these restock limits. They're like, hey, we can only have X amount. Better pick your best sellers, And so that's what we do. But if you look at the news and just what Amazon's doing right now, I just saw a headline today where they're literally turning on 100 fulfillment centers just in September of 2021. That's incredible. And they're hiring another, what they say, 125,000 employees. That's like a small city, right? Worth of employees. Like they also raised their wages. They went up to like $18 an hour. So if you see if you kind of watch what Amazon's doing in the big picture, this big, gigantic behemoth, they're definitely signaling that, hey, we see these issues of not being able to handle the demand that people are giving on Amazon. Products are out of stock. We don't have the fulfillment center space for them. And I mean, they're just building like crazy. For a huge company to move that fast to me is also shocking. I think it's incredible how fast they're building it. So I think next year and in the future, ideally, fingers crossed, we might not see these sort of Q4 restock limit constraints that we're seeing, that we've seen this year and last year. And even in the past, like 3 or 4 years ago, like Q4 was always a shit show. You had to like get your stuff in months in advance because they would always throttle right going into Q4. So I'm hoping with all this massive expansion into infrastructure that in the future, maybe we can plan for higher limits in Q4 and not have to be so constrained. But on the other end of the supply chain, like kind of where I started with getting stuff from China to the US, I don't know what's going on there and what the solution will be there. But I do think Amazon's making the right play from the end that they can control.
Yeah, interesting, Josh. I'm sure many, many people around the world, from Australia to where you are hoping for, Amazon's extra capacity to be around the corner. But look, thank you so much, Josh, for making time. And, I think it was one of the most interesting sessions, especially about the review stuff. So we'd love to have you back. And I'm sure you will come back after the peak season. Yeah. So thank you.
Yeah, I'd be happy. Thanks for having me, James. It was a pleasure.